Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Donut Hole, your place where a couple guys sit around together and pontificate about random crap. My name's Paul,
And I'm Jason.
and it is October 13th, Sunday, 2019. So, obviously, we've been gone for a while. We've had a lot of stuff going on. You went camping during September, and then
Yeah.
I fucked off down to Costa Rica to go to the dentist. And then last weekend, we were both exhausted. I ended up working Saturday night, like I usually do, and then waking up at the ass crack of dawn to work the Titans game.
Yeah.
So there was that. First Titans game I ever worked where they lost.
No, they're not that good this year. So
No, they really sucked this year.
yeah, they
They're
look pretty rough.
pretty deplorable.
Nice.
Anyway, so there's that. So anyway, now we're into October. So sorry we've not been here, but again, it's your fault because you guys have not really been there commenting, liking, subscribing, doing any of those things. So get on the ball, talk to us, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't
We
like.
do take requests.
Yeah, we do take requests. We'll talk about some of the stuff that you're more interested in as opposed to the random crap we always talk about, which is usually politics centered, but not always.
Yeah, and usually pretty depressing.
Yeah.
But,
Maybe that's why you guys don't listen. Are we too depressing for you?
You got to follow the news cycle, though.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Leave a comment in the on the video. So speaking of the news cycle, let's get right into it. Obviously, there's not been a lot of things going on here lately. Most of the news cycle has been focused around the whole "let's impeach Trump" thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah. We'll hit that briefly and put our 2 cents, but it's amazing to me the media more so than the Democrats. I mean, obviously, we do know historically how many times did the Republican House try to bring up a vote on to get Barack Obama impeached? It was several times. So this is really nothing new in American politics. I think once this happened with Clinton, it's kind of the new norm is you talk about impeachment and you kind of threaten it. But this is really a bigger thing than those kind of things.
yeah. So anyway, so basically what ended up happening, I guess let's go to the start of all this. Back during the Obama administration, Biden went to the Ukraine. The official narrative is per request of the Obama administration to root out one of their, basically the Ukrainian version of the Attorney General,
Yeah.
who is investigating an oil company, a prominent Ukrainian oil company, that it just so happened that Joe Biden's son worked for.
And was getting paid $50,000 a month to sit on the board.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, if there's any oil companies, Ukrainian or otherwise, I mean, even Iranian, I don't really care, that want to pay me $50,000 a month to sit on the board, I'll sit on the board and give you my 2 cents.
Hey, I'll put it this way. I have just as much experience as Hunter Biden. Mm-hmm. I don't know the language, and I don't know anything about oil. So we're equal.
Yeah.
We should be able to get one of these jobs.
We
man.
should, I mean, actually, I think I know more about Hunter Biden when it comes to oil. I know it gets pumped out of the ground. I know it gets refined into various products, ranging from gasoline, diesel, crude oil, gets, milled down into like polymers and various other things.
And you do pump your own gas.
And
'Cause I doubt Hunter Biden pumps his
do.
own gas. Yeah,
So,
so there you go. You got a leg up.
I do. I think we both do. So
50 grand a month, we're here, guys.
I'll do it for 40. I'll do it for 40.
Yeah.
So, anyway, basically, Biden withheld a large quantity of U.S. aid to the Ukrainian government, saying you better fire this prosecutor that's investigating the same company that just so happens to be investigating the same company my son works for, or else you're not going to get your money. And not only do we know this is fact, I mean, there is a video out currently of Joe Biden saying just this.
Yes, he
Like,
was.
shit, there's a conference or
He
something
was
like
doing some sort of public speaking event,
Yeah.
and yes, he was bragging about how he went and strong-armed the government to get this prosecutor fired.
Yeah.
Now,
Last year, in an interview, Joe bragged about getting Ukraine's general prosecutor fired. He says he was standing up to corruption.
I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid. at the time.
Well, it just so happens that the general prosecutor was investigating an energy firm in which Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, was heavily invested. Burisma Holdings is an energy corporation in Ukraine, and Hunter Biden, the son of the former vice president, has made a rather handsome profit from it, especially in the aftermath of the 2014 events in Ukraine in which pro-EU forces took power. That prosecutor was looking into 3 different instances of foul play from Hunter's cash cow. However, all it took was a phone call from Papa Joe, and that prosecutor was out.
We had plans that included interrogations and other crime investigation procedures into all members of the executive board, including Hunter Biden.
And it could be all above board as far as Barack Obama administration did direct them to do this. However, as Joe Biden, don't you recuse yourself from this situation if you say, well, my son happens to work for one of the companies this guy is, I can't be the one to go over there.
Yeah, send the Secretary of State. Send, the
Send
ambassador.
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, send somebody else. I can't do this one.
Yeah.
Just, it is a bit of a conflict of interest. Sorry, dude. Send, this person to do it.
Yeah.
It would have been a valid reason.
Let the ambassador do it, what have you.
Let the ambassador, let the Secretary of State, let somebody else handle this particular one. I kind of can't because of the conflict of interest. Nope, he didn't say that. He's like, no, I strong-armed him, motherfucker. And, here it is. So, yeah, that's ridiculous. And the only thing that's come along with this is the whole reason we're, quote-unquote, talking about Trump impeachment right now is because Trump talked to the Ukrainian president. It's like, hey, can you give us more information on what the hell was going on with all that? Because we're hearing about this and we kind of don't know. And then now the left has gotten extremely butthurt that the Trump administration is using the power, quote unquote, the power of the president to investigate political rivals. But isn't that kind of the whole dirty dossier thing with Trump to begin with? Isn't that the whole wiretapping with Obama during that administration on Trump during the presidential campaign?
And then you got these CIA guys like James Clapper getting up on TV and so publicly supporting what Barack Obama does, but yet, Trump is the bad guy for some reason for doing similar things.
Yeah. It doesn't hold water.
Well, and the goalposts keep moving. First it was, there was a quid pro quo. Mm-hmm. Well, when it came out that at the time of the phone call, the Ukrainian president didn't even know the aid was being withheld at that point. Mm-hmm. So if the other side doesn't know that the aid is being withheld, how can there be a quid pro quo? Yeah. So they moved the goalpost.
Yeah, so the only thing there was a quid pro Joe because he was the one that actually did that.
Yeah. Good one. But they keep moving the goalpost. We have this whistleblower who now they want to interview in secret because he's afraid for his safety. But I always thought it was, one of our most sacred held tenets in our justice system that you have the right to face your accuser. Mm-hmm. No secret communist-style trials here.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I will admit that I know that legally the impeachment in the House is not a trial because that's the Senate's job. Mm-hmm. The Senate is the one who conducts the trial. However, though, you would think that the American people would say, hey, hold on a minute. You're going to get secret testimony from a guy in secret who's Adam Schiff's already been caught lying about because Adam Schiff said he knew nothing about it. And then increasingly it's looking as if the whistleblower was coordinating with Adam Schiff's office before any of this even came out, not to mention the fact that Adam Schiff tweeted about this issue a month before the American people knew what happened.
Yeah.
So, seems a little shady to me.
Well, I think this is all coming right down to the line of what I kind of predicted, 6 months ago, when I said, yep, they're going to find some way to try to start to impeach Trump right around the election time. Hey, guess what? Elections next year. They're going to start dragging it through the House. It'll be in the Senate while the election's going on. I almost guarantee it. Mm-hmm. I called that. I totally called that.
And as fast as they seemed that, the Democrats made this blitz in the media, as fast as they seemed, they wanted to get it done, get the corruption out. They don't want it done that fast. And they know it's not going to happen that fast. Mm-hmm. They just wanted that media attention. And now it's going to drag on. And we've already dragged the American people through 2 years of the Mueller report. Mm-hmm. Now we're dragging the American people through this.
Yeah.
And you've got to think that if this does not successfully remove Trump from office, that it's going to backfire on him pretty big time.
Oh, at that point, it's going to backfire to the point where he'll be elected in a landslide, and that'll be ridiculous. And then it's only going to further enrage the left.
Yeah.
And yeah, that'll be fun. Or, there's the flip side that maybe they'll, with so much propaganda, so much news coverage of it, that people are like, wow, we had the Mueller report. And most people don't realize that the Mueller report and the whole Russian meddling thing turned out to be bullshit. Your average person doesn't really keep up with it. They hear about it, and they keep hearing the media talk about it. And then, something else happens in the media. It seems the American people have like the attention span of like a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Because let's move on to another thing that was recently-ish in the news, and nobody's talking about it at all. And that would be the whole Epstein thing. So Epstein allegedly committed suicide. For those of you that forgot about it already, Epstein allegedly committed suicide in his cell room, despite being on suicide watch with 2 security guards that were supposed to be checking on him like basically constantly. And he hung himself with paper sheets, and he damaged his allegedly, per the coroner's report, he damaged part of his esophagus, neck area, in a way that's not usually consistent with self-strangulation. It would be with somebody else strangulating somebody else. So there were a few bones that were broken that didn't quite add up, but theoretically it could happen, but it's pretty unlikely.
Right.
And then there was a judge that was continuing to investigate these things, and he's dead now. Probably didn't see that in the news. Go look it up. If you dig, you'll find it. The security guards that falsified the logs, there's no mention of that. There's been no mention of the other people involved in it. It's just kind of fizzled. We had like I think you said it was a couple of mass shootings and something else that happened, and poof, it
Yeah, a couple of mass shootings and an impeachment later. And,
and poof, it's disappeared. No one's ever going to talk about it again. Pedo Island's going to just get washed away into sea. Nobody's going to know about it, and that's because there's some powerful people that are at play with it.
Right.
I think at the end of the day, while this next part is pure speculation, you've got very powerful people that were allowed to go play in Pedo Island. Evidence was collected on him, and it's like, this is how Epstein made his money, because he was never he claimed to be an investor, but all the people in the investor circles in New York never seen the guy. So really all it was is, we're extorting, a payment from you because you're wealthy and you can come play in Pedo Island. You continue with your payments. This stuff never comes public, and you can just continue to play at Pedo Island. That's just how it went down.
Yeah.
That's why Bill Clinton flew out there 28 times or 27. Was it 27? We'll say 25 because I don't want
20 something. Yeah. He was on the flight log 20 something time.
Yeah, 20. I want to say it's 27, but we'll say 25 to be on the safe side. I don't want to, the Clinton machine to come after me.
But
and same thing with various other powerful people. There was the Prince of what was British Prince Andrew?
Andrew.
Yeah, he was out there. There are a ton of people, ton of wealthy, dirtbags. So there's that. I don't know your thoughts on that.
Well, at the end of the day, we're obviously never going to know.
Obviously, because no one's going to ever do anything with it.
Yeah, and yeah, right. It's one of those those fake tweets you see all the time. The old Hillary Clinton joke is, I'm announcing my suicide next week after I post damning evidence against the Clintons, know.
Yeah.
It's kind of that kind of thing, which I'm sure the Pedo Island thing it goes way deeper than any Clinton stuff.
Oh yeah, the Clintons are part of it, but that's just like a small part of it. We'll talk like 10% maybe.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a big thing.
And it's just one of those things that the entire elite in the world is just not going to allow you to find out about.
Yeah. Because why would they? They can continue doing this kind of crap. And you know damn well this stuff, whether it's Epstein facilitating it. I think Epstein was just smart in a way, because he was able to, basically extort some money out of the wealthy and let him continue to play. So he just kind of took care of himself, but I guess he also dabbled in it himself and then got caught like a dumbass, and then he ends up getting killed because, good thing he got killed and caught, but, nonetheless, I'm just saying.
I don't see how these people can't just do the, normal person thing and go get a adult hooker.
Yeah.
Have some fun and, call it a day.
Yeah, pretty much.
But they just seem to not be able to do that.
Yeah, and or yeah, I mean, because you can get like even if you like the quote unquote younger looking ones, you can get ones that are like 18, 19. I mean,
Oh,
it's
these
doable.
powerful rich guys, they could go get as many college girls as they wanted.
Right.
I mean, hell, there's a college girl sugar daddy site.
There are, yeah.
You can basically have your college girlfriend doing whatever you want.
Yeah, you just got to buy her a Prada bag once a month.
Right,
you know?
and she'll screw off whenever you tell her to. Hey, go. I don't want to hear from you for a month. Okay, she doesn't care because she's getting her money. She doesn't want to hear from you either, buddy.
Yeah,
But no. So and that also leads to more of the conspiracy theories of why is this? Is it that there are this many people who are pedos? Because I don't see that in the general populace.
I don't know. I think with the corruption, I think a lot of it, and with these whack jobs in power, I'm thinking they just like they've lost their jollies on everything else.
Maybe that's what it is.
I think it is. I think it's what it is. It's. I think a lot of them have just lost they can't get their jollies any other way other than doing just really fucked up shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when you have so much power, so much money, I mean, you can get like 20 college, like you said, you can get 20 college girls to do whatever the hell you want. Maybe they just can't get their jollies any other way.
Yeah.
Other than just being completely depraved.
Well, it's sort of like the theory that if a man is immortal, he'll eventually experience everything and become extremely bored with life, and not be able to get joy out of anything because he's lived so long, he's experienced everything that the entire world has to offer.
Okay.
Maybe it's something kind of like that concept
Maybe.
of like they've already done the college girl orgy or what have
Yeah.
you, and like you said, they just keep getting worse and worse and worse.
The next thing you know, there'll be Donkey Island.
Oh well, there
kinda
was
like,
there was
Pinocchio.
there was that the guy that died from the horse, that documentary, The Zoo. So, that actually happened. That was a thing. I don't think it was elites or anything, but that was a thing where people went there in California.
It might be though. Next thing you know, it'll be Donkey Island. Like it'll be like Pinocchio. It'll be like all this debauchery and stuff, and there'll be donkeys.
There is no end to the depths of depravity of humankind. That is for sure. That is for sure.
I'm gonna have to put a not safe for work warning on this episode.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, I guess let's take a quick break. We'll get back to you guys after the commercial break and all that stuff. So.
Hi, I would like to take a minute to tell you a bit about Hero Song. Hero Song is a 501c3 non-for-profit organization set up to record the music of veterans, active duty, and first responders who also have musical ambitions. Music is great for the soul, and that's what makes us unique and ever so wonderful. Please check them out and consider giving them your support. Again, that's at herosong.org. Thanks.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the content. If you are, make sure to press that like and subscribe button right down there. And if there's any material and stuff you would like to see us cover, we're more than happy to do that for you as well. Hope to have some new content coming out for our Patreon subscribers. Those of you that are, in the mood to do that. We also have one of those. Should be pretty easy to find us, the Donut Hole Show. And, yeah.
Yeah, and once we get some more subscribers, we'll probably start a merch store, do some mugs, some hats, things like that. We're just now starting out. Hopefully this episode got our audio quality fixed and continue to move forward for you guys and offer more and more every week.
Yep. So, thanks again, guys. Alrighty, guys, we're back from the break. So, I guess let's go back. We've already kind of touched on our domestic stuff for the most part. Let's go into international news. Of course, we know me, the Asian persuasion. I'm going to be talking about Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Recently, there was a ruling or basically like kind of an executive action passed in Hong Kong banning anybody from wearing face masks in Asia. Now, any of you that have lived in Asia know damn well, due to pollution, everybody wears those little surgical masks in public, either for pollution or because they're sick and they don't want to spread diseases and germs, which is a really good thing. We should adopt that here. But yeah, so there was I saw a video clip, and if I can find it again, I'll post it. Actually, probably overlay the video so you guys can watch it while we're talking about it. If not, then oh well. But yeah, it was just a guy and his girlfriend walking down the street. They weren't even protesting, and like 5 cops swarmed him, beat the crap out of him, and arrested him. And since this has happened, at every subsequent protest, people are rocking masks like crazy because they're pretty pissed with their government over there right now. So yeah, fun times. So that's kind of what I want to touch on with Hong Kong. That's kind of what's going on. It's still a powder keg. It's still a shit show.
Yeah, it's still definitely really, we get distracted in the U.S. with a 24-hour news cycle and all the Trump hysteria, but it's probably the biggest thing going on in the world right now. That's actually happening.
Yeah. Of course, I believe iOS has, on their China and Hong Kong specific phones, has knocked the Taiwan flag off because you have like the little flag emojis.
Yes, yeah, I saw that.
So
yeah.
that's gone. I think what was it? Activision, Blizzard. They also nicked the Taiwan flag as far as country of origin thing on their games, which has pissed some people off. I think you wanted to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, there's been a big movement for people canceling their accounts on these World of Warcraft, and I think Fortnite is one of them. Over censorship and basically these companies kowtowing to China and censoring the users and whatnot for any kind of pro Hong Kong views or pro Taiwan views. So it's really been a big backlash in the West. I actually saw a Twitter map of the world of where the hashtag cancel your account type thing. I don't know the exact hashtag was trending, and it was heavily U.S., Canada, Europe. So there are still some people out there who do believe in freedom and democratic values that are, not too happy with these companies doing this kind of stuff.
Good. I'm glad they're voting with their dollar.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what these companies need.
Yeah. And they even went so far though as to they disabled some feature where that made it more difficult for people to cancel their account. So that's a pretty bad move by them.
Yeah.
So not only are they pro-communist China, they are also trying to force their users into staying with them.
And I want to go ahead and point this out, or let me go ahead and state this and clarify my stance on China. I really love China. China's a great place. I love the Chinese people. I love the culture. I love the history. I love the food, and I actually could tolerate the regime up until the last administration. It's with the current administration that I have my biggest problems because of the ones stirring up the biggest amount of shit. So, that's where I stand on that. And of course, if I do decide to go back over there for a visit, I'll behave myself. Chinese minders that are watching the video, I won't talk politics with people. I'll just be going for food, culture, and keeping my head down. But Winnie the Pooh sucks. Anyway, speaking of companies that suck, Marriott. You also brought this one up when we were doing show prep. I guess Marriott had an employee that tweeted something, or actually didn't even tweet. They liked
a tweet, and it happened to come from the official Marriott account. So that it was simply a like. There was no retweet from what I read, and they're going to now terminate this person's employment for liking a pro-Tibet tweet from the Marriott account.
Yeah, and that I can see a little bit more. We were talking about this. I mean, because when I first heard about the story, I thought it was they liked it on their personal account.
I did as well.
And it's like, well, that's really messed up to fire them. But logging into the corporate account and doing it, I can see a little bit more justification. But yeah, probably a firing might be a little bit more of an overreach.
I think it is an overreach. I think that's more of a disciplinary measure because, in all actuality, usually these things are explained in the simplest terms. More than likely, this employee was in charge of social media or in some context. That's why they had the password. That's why they were able to log in the account. And they were probably sitting there goofing off at work like we've all been known to do from time to time. And they saw a tweet, that was pro-Tibet, and they just liked it. Because of their personal views. And they say, oh, click. It's probably just a thoughtless thing they were doing while they were browsing social media.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the firing is a little extreme to me. Disciplinary measure of maybe, hey, don't bring your personal views onto the company's account. I can understand that.
Disciplinary action, you're suspended for 2 weeks, no pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
But apparently the reason they're being more strict is because they had a survey that was sent out that listed Taiwan as a separate country, and also Tibet, I believe. Now, come to find out, the survey was generated by a third-party company. Once again, the simplest explanation is probably true, is these people probably had no idea the politics or anything involved with it. It was probably just somebody listed these countries that there were Marriotts in. But that, the Chinese government was already upset with Marriott, and of course Marriott has an extensive network of hotels in Asia. And they were already upset. And then when this tweet went, I think they just felt like they needed to nip that in the bud because they already had one strike with the communists. They didn't want to.
Yeah. So there's that. And then there's, I guess, moving on to companies that are sucking on Winnie the Pooh. That would be the NBA. So I believe it was one of the owners of the Houston Rockets said something in support.
General manager, something like that, I believe. I don't think it's an owner because I think he's fireable because there was talk of firing him.
Okay.
Although I don't know if any of that's happened yet. But yeah, it was the similar situation. He just, he sent out a very simple tweet. I don't know, paraphrasing here, but it was just basically in support of people of democracy and the people of Hong Kong.
And that was on his personal.
Yes.
That was not on like an official NBA.
No, that was not official NBA at all. That was his personal Twitter account. And then, of course, giant blowback from China. They canceled all the Houston Rockets games that were, they traveled to China and play. They canceled all that. They on China's streaming service for the NBA, they took away the Houston Rockets. You can't watch a single Houston Rockets game in China anymore.
Yeah, so that's kind of ridiculous. I honestly, and then of course, the NBA came out and apologized profusely. Where I figured the NBA would have, if they were smart, they would have been able to use this as a really good opportunity to call China's bluff and tell Winnie the Pooh to suck it back. Because at the end of the day, having lived in China, I know how popular basketball is. And if the Chinese government were to come out and say, we, are banning the NBA, screw those guys. The people of China, I would say, more than likely, by and large, this would be a catalyst for Hong Kong all over China. Because, truth be told, the Chinese people like the NBA a lot more than they do the Communist Party.
Well, that's what, and these are ideas we've talked about before about exporting American values with capitalism. But if the companies don't have American values, we cannot export them.
Exactly.
And you're right. That was a perfect opportunity to export some Western values of
Well,
democracy.
we've already exported it, and this would have been a time for us to stand on those values.
Yes. Yeah. But instead, they backed down.
Yep, which is becoming a major problem with a lot of these quote unquote, they're Western companies, but they're now just multinational. They don't really give a fuck about the country of origin.
Yes.
They don't give a fuck about classical liberal values of liberty and freedom and representative government. Democratic process. They don't believe in any of that anymore. It's all about how much money can we make out of this market.
Well, and the hypocrisy of these people is astonishing. There was some NBA coach, I believe it was Kerr, who is famous. I may get the name wrong. I'm not a big NBA fan, but who is apparently famous for pushing social justice things in America about equality and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And this is the hypocrisy of these companies, these very same companies that preach to the American people these, all this new libtard values. I don't know what else to call it.
That's a good.
But,
I like that. Quote. That's a good
this
term.
social justice type libtard agenda.
Yeah.
They feel like, oh yeah, pushing that in America is great, but hey, when you're in China, you better kowtow to the communists, which should show the people who are the social justice warriors and the extreme left that, guys, these guys don't stand with you. They're just doing this to take your dollar.
Oh, of course.
Because if they're willing to say, oh, we need freedom for every little special interest group in America, but in China, no freedom at all.
Yeah. Now, yeah. So it'd be totally different animals to say you take your Colin Kaepernick type people, and if they were to take a knee for Hong Kong, okay, at this point, it's like they were to do that and come out like that. It's like, all right, I don't fully agree with you, but at least you're consistent and you are standing on principles. While I may not agree with all of them, you do have some value. You are actually standing up for something you believe in across the board, not just this Black Lives Matter, but like disenfranchised groups matter.
Yeah.
I can respect that. I would be like, you know what? Give him a pass.
Yeah.
I can kneel with Kaepernick a little bit then.
Yeah.
But they don't do that. We'll kneel for this bullshit here in the U.S., but worse bullshit abroad. Yeah, fuck it. Who cares?
Right. Which also just goes to show you it's just virtue signaling of the highest order.
Oh, that's all it is.
They don't really care about any of this.
No.
Because, well, first of all, the whole Kaepernick thing is I think the reason it made a lot of people angry was, as a football fan myself, I'm much less of one now, but I used to be a very big football fan. what irritated me about it was, first of all, it's an escapism thing.
Yeah.
You don't really want to be faced with
Politics and
especially
news.
domestic politics, because that's in your face every day, all the time. Anyway.
Yeah.
Number one. And number two, a lot of Kaepernick's ideas are based off a false narrative. If you look at all these statistics, it does not play out what they're saying.
Yeah.
Because, there's plenty of white people shot by cops as well, and Latinos. So, it just doesn't. I think a lot of Americans felt like it was a false narrative, and they just didn't like that. But once again, they'll get up there and push false narratives. They don't care. It's, divisive within American culture. But as soon as it comes to, life and death situations overseas, who cares?
Which unfortunately brings us to the next point, the fact that I guess we're now in preliminary negotiations with China. We've got kind of like a preliminary trade deal. The Trump administration does, at least with some agricultural products and some various things. I guess they're going to continue working on it. But these things are already going to be passed. There's a suspension on some Chinese tariffs into the United States. So with this continuing to develop, I am now very worried that Trump is also going to bend over for Xi Jinping once everything's said and done and be like, oh, yeah, Hong Kong, Taiwan, who cares? Fuck them. And that does not set well with me, knowing that that's possibly down the pike. Because I know if they do reach an agreement and then Trump says, still continues to actually at that point comes out with a stance on it one way or another, because he's been pretty quiet on it right now. If he comes out with a stance one way or another, it would probably be in support of the Chinese government. I'm not cool with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And this is the one thing that a lot of the libertarians are going to have to come to terms with Trump. I know we didn't talk about this in show prep, but the whole Kurdish thing.
Yeah.
And I it's funny because I heard a person I work with, just a normal, not liberal or conservative, just a normal person at work say this, is like, well, you kind of get what you get. You can't have it both ways. You can either get the isolationist style U.S. policy, which is kind of what we're getting with Trump. I think Trump is extremely anti-war. So you can't have it both ways. You can't have we're not going to go get into any foreign wars, but at the same time, but why aren't we over there in the foreign territory doing this or doing that? So that is the difficulty with it. Once again, moderation of, can we ever have anything in the middle?
Yeah, and that's exactly what we do need. I don't support, foreign involvement in, a bunch of needless wars. But when we have an ally that we've relied on in regions for time and time and time again, you stand with that ally. You stand with the people that stand for freedom. That is the important part. Now, I'm not saying you go instigate wars all over the place, which the United States is much better at instigating bullshit than just standing with allies.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference. We instigated the whole Arab Spring bullshit back during the Obama administration. We instigated the formation of ISIS. We instigated a lot of the Syrian conflict. We instigated so much. We've instigated so much crap around the world. But yet, then you've got a group like the Kurds that during the first Gulf War, we told them, hey, rise up against Saddam. And they did. And then we're like, oh, yeah, we rolled into Baghdad. Saddam, don't be bad. And then we left. And then Saddam's like, okay, well, I won't invade Kuwait, but hey, you jackasses that are in my country, I'm going to gas the fuck out of you.
Yeah, that was strike number one. That was George Bush Sr. Got him.
Yeah.
And then Obama was the next one when he pulled out of Iraq and basically left actually much worse than what Trump did. He just pulled out of Iraq and basically allowed the formation of ISIS. Kurds got screwed a second time.
Yep.
And then here comes Trump, screwing them a third time.
So really, I think at the end of the day, we just need to cut off the top tip of Iraq, say, hey, guess what, the Kurds, you guys get this, call it Kurdistan, this is your country. I'm not usually for foreign aid, but here's $500 billion, help you out.
And the world community gets,
here's a nice little piece of real estate here in New York City, here's your embassy.
Well, and it could greatly benefit U.S. foreign policy because you say, okay, well, we'll give you a country.
Yeah.
What we're going to do though is put military bases. there.
We get a base right there in Kurdistan,
which helps you guys out too because nobody's going to dare attack Kurdistan.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have several bases.
Yep. There you go.
Which the world had no problem doing for Israel.
Nope.
They didn't have a problem with that, giving them a sovereign land of their own.
Let's do the same for the Kurds.
You couldn't do the same for the Kurds. I mean,
Well, there's not as much strategic value. And by strategic value, I mean money.
yeah. Which I understand when, Iraq was a functioning country, you couldn't do that. That would be invading a country and taking their sovereign territory. But once, Barack Obama pulled out of Iraq and it basically was a failed state and ISIS started taking over, you could have absolutely created Kurdistan.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I understand the Kurds want, ideally, northern Iraq, western Turkey, and eastern Syria, and southwestern Iran, northeastern Iran. I'm sorry, geography a little bit. But those other countries aren't failed states yet. We'll see what happens if they do a 5-day war with you, like it happened with Israel. Then yeah, sure, go ahead and take some territory. But in the meantime, just deal with northern Iraq. You guys, you can kind of settle there and do that.
Yeah.
I think again that would be a perfect idea.
Yeah.
To do that. So, but yeah, that's kind of an issue with Trump, as I'm afraid he's just gonna roll over for the Chinese. He's obviously rolling over for the Turks right now. I don't understand our alliance with Turkey so much. I don't understand why they're a part of NATO.
I don't either.
Especially now that they're becoming more and more hardline Islamic.
Yes, Erdogan just made them into a hardline Islamic country that used to be a very secular country.
Yeah, very secular, very
and
moderate.
they weren't part of NATO at that point.
No,
Then,
it's like it's back asswards now, and I'm not really pro Turkey right now.
Yeah.
I mean, some good firearms coming out of Turkey right now, but that's kind of one of those issues where I'm really on the fence. It's like, as actually in personal life, I'm looking at possibly picking up one of their. There's a Turkish-made Beretta 92 clone. It's called the EEA Regard. It's basically just a Beretta 92 copy, and I'm really eyeballing it. They're retailing brand new for like $3 and change, and it's like, that's like $200 less than the real Beretta. It's like, I'm really on the fence. It's like, do I buy this and support the Turks, kind of support the military-industrial complex, or do I just, shell out the wallet and spend the extra money and buy a real Beretta? It's tumultuous. I mean, currently the security weapon I'm using for work is also a Turkish-made handgun, but I bought it on the secondary market. I did not buy it new.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a thing at the time. It's like, I see it's a really good deal. It's used. So I'm not directly supporting, I'm buying it from somebody else.
Yeah,
I already bought it.
That was already exchanged,
Yeah,
right?
so I didn't have as much of a hang up about that. And maybe if I find one of these other handguns used up, maybe I'll pick it up.
That's kind of how I feel about Disney. I will not give them any of my money firsthand. But, if a Marvel movie comes on TV, I'll watch it.
I'll probably go watch the next Star Wars movie just to see how badly they screw it up.
I still haven't watched the most recent one.
I haven't watched Solo either. No,
I did watch Solo. That one was okay.
I watched it on the plane.
Yeah.
Most of it. I
Yeah.
didn't even finish it. I watched most of it on the plane recently. Was it when no, it wasn't when I went. No, it wasn't when I went to Costa Rica. It was when I went to Taiwan back in January, I think. I think that's when I watched it on the plane. I didn't even finish it. I think I watched most of it, and then food came, and I'm like, fuck this.
That one was just a decent, just actiony kind of, but yeah, they really screwed up the main storyline though.
Oh yeah, that one was rough.
That's why I haven't watched the this most recent one. I don't even know the name of it.
Let's see. There was the.
Is it The Last Jedi?
No, that's the one that's coming out. It's the last. No,
No, that's the most recent one, I think.
So the first one was. Fuck, I can't even remember.
Force Awakens.
Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and this last one's The Rise of Skywalker, or The Last Skywalker,
or
some
something.
shit like.
Yeah.
I can't even keep it straight. Yeah, Disney's already fucked it up. It was funny because when the original trilogy, amazing. We're gonna get off on a tangent here, but the original Star Wars trilogy, episodes 4, 5, and 6, Star Wars Jedi or Star Wars Empire and Jedi, fantastic movies.
Yes.
Amazing vision, good story, good character development. Special effects were amazing for their time. Everything about it was fantastic. Then George Lucas comes around in the late 90s. He's like, hey, let's play with computers, and creates this turd of a trilogy.
Yeah.
And it was just god awful. And I'm like, oh my god! As a Star Wars fan at the time, I was just like, I can't, this is terrible.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
it
just
was
shaking my
very
head, and then I heard that Disney bought Star Wars, and I'm like, okay, they can't fuck it up any worse than Lucas. They're trying. They're kind of doing a hey, hold my beer moment right here. I mean, I wouldn't say it's quite. No, it kind of is. It's about as bad as the first, or as the episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Well,
It's
anytime these
pretty
companies
bad.
get in and try to change, you can make movies in the Star Wars universe all day
Mm-hmm.
long, and people wouldn't complain as much. But you took all these great characters that all these people know from their youth and whatnot, and you basically made Han Solo a loser dad who dies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know?
he's the like when the deadbeat dad. That's
Yeah,
what I was
he's a
looking for.
divorced dad riding around in his camper with his best bud.
Yeah,
That's what they made him into.
pretty much.
And then they made I haven't seen the newest one with Skywalker.
Yeah, they made
but-
Luke Skywalker this fuck my friends, I don't care, I'm living in this
Yeah,
hut or
yeah.
living in this like little cave in the middle of this like,
just bitter old man.
who doesn't give a fuck about anybody. Which is totally not his character.
Right. And then of course Princess Leia was a hero and a leader because she's a whammon.
Yeah, well, it's
Yeah.
important.
And it was just you took all those characters, you just ruined them.
Yeah,
Just
trashed
it was
them.
just I don't know. I also don't know why you had to. They felt the need that Han and Leia just needed to get a divorce and do some single parent shit. Because I don't know. I mean, I guess that's just the modern world, you know.
I guess so.
mean,
You have to relate to modern audiences, right?
Yeah, instead of them, out adventuring together like you would think, would happen. No, they're just divorced parents, and dad's a loser riding around with his best bud in an RV. So
It's a space RV. It's like Spaceballs.
yeah.
Parody comes back full circle.
It does exactly. It really does. It really does. So yeah, it just completely trashed it.
Yeah. So that's just ridiculous. Although I will say the Rogue One movie was good. I don't know if you saw that. That one was good.
That was good. And like I said, I don't think Solo was bad.
I didn't-
It was just an okay summer action movie
I,
type
I
thing.
didn't like the guy they cast. They could have found somebody that kind of had more of the Harrison Ford look.
Yeah.
That would have helped a lot.
Yeah, that would
with
have
it.
helped. But as far as like, it was Lando was kind of, the young Lando was
Young
a
Lando
good
looked-
bright spot.
That
That
was a good casting. Like I said, the guy they cast for Han just didn't look like him. He had like the wrong hairstyle and everything.
Yeah.
Everything about it was just off.
Yeah.
It was just like find somebody that looks like the younger version of Harrison Ford, and you would have nailed it.
Yeah.
But when you cast somebody that looks totally not the part, it's really hard to get into that character.
And they
at that
kind of
point.
did the same social justice, like the main thieves that were, Han's, I won't say enemy because they ended up working together in the end against the Empire, but the woman in the mask, and it ended up being the woman who started the rebellion, was like some 18-year-old girl, and it's funny.
Oh, that's right. I did finish the
it's-
movie. That's how uneventful it was. For me.
Yeah, and
I did finish it on
that's
a plane.
also it's hard to suspend disbelief when you're like, yeah, of course, a 120-pound 18-year-old girl is obviously the best warrior. It just it gets old, You're just
Yeah.
like you can't suspend your disbelief,
Mm-hmm.
And that being said, it's not just because it's a woman. It's also if it was some skinny 18-year-old high school kid, dorky guy.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. It's like, yeah, you're just shoehorning that in there.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you got to have. And I have no problem with taking a young character like that and make him a doofus in the beginning, and then you see the growth and development of that character into a badass. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really. You kind of saw that with Luke Skywalker. You got this twitty fucking farm boy who's like hanging out in this moisture farm, is wide-eyed, has no idea what the fuck's going on in the world, and he turns into the guy that takes on the Empire and boards the second Death
And he was
Star.
all whiny and
Yeah, he was a whiny, obnoxious twat in the beginning.
Yeah.
But towards the end of the series, he actually had some character development and turned into kind of a badass.
Well, I think that's what it is, a lack of character development, because it's funny you notice nowadays in these movies that it's like that they shoehorn that being a young woman. Because like when I watched the movie Alien, it didn't feel shoehorned that Sigourney Weaver was, because Sigourney Weaver just was a badass. I mean, she just was that character.
Yeah.
That was not shoehorned in there. They
No.
didn't do it for social justice purposes. It was just she was that character.
Yeah.
It did not feel forced.
And there was just enough play back and forth with it, I believe, because I mean, if I remember, it's forever since I've seen the movie. But like some of the male characters would give her shit, and she'd give them shit right back. And you know those kind of women in real life, right? So it's
Right.
not the ones, you know, they'll have a little banter back and forth, but it's a strong female protagonist from the get go.
Yes.
She also had just enough age and just enough like full development already in that as that character to be able to
Right.
do it.
Right.
Whereas,
and it made sense.
And it made sense. Exactly.
She was a hard-nosed space,
Yeah.
you know, captain or
Yeah,
what have
exactly.
you. Yeah.
So that works. But then you take Rey from the Force Awakens, and you have this underdeveloped character with there's a lot of potential with it, but she's just automatically just this natural badass without any story, any development. It's just
Well, you're forgetting my earlier theory. She's a 120-pound woman. They're automatically badass ninjas.
Yeah.
In today's world, they're automatically badass ninjas.
see, that just doesn't work. It would be so
Yeah.
much better if there was actual development of the character, which we're slowly starting to see come out of the series, but it's so slow. And the fact that she's already like this amazing force user that can like teleport herself all over the fucking world or all over the universe and stuff. It's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, yeah.
It's just,
yeah.
it's
like Master Yoda, who lived for hundreds of years, never attained
Yeah.
this kind of,
Yeah. And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, George Lucas himself screwed it all up when he started describing it as metachlorians in the blood, and if you have more metachlorians, you're more powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
just-
don't know.
you know, sometimes it's best just to leave things be, you know.
Yeah. Like I said, I'll probably see the new Star Wars movie and then, you know, bang my head against the wall for wasting, 2 hours of my life.
Yeah, I still haven't seen the latest one. I'm sure I will at some point. I'm sure I'll be bored and it'll come on TV or something, and I'm going to regret watching it.
No, you will and you won't. I mean, you'll regret watching it just the same way I'll regret watching the new one when it comes out. In the fact it's like they suck.
Yeah.
But you'll be glad that you watched it just for that peace of mind, knowing, okay, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen the way that Disney officially wrapped everything up. I'm going to go back to the old books and stuff like that were kind of tossed in the fire pit when Disney purchased the series. And believe that that's the way it really happened.
Since we are on movies, we could bring up the Joker, which is getting a lot of political blowback.
seen it.
I have not seen it myself, but I do think it's funny that, that it's created this strange political blowback in the, critics are giving it a relatively low score compared to what the audience is.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Army put out a warning that this was a rallying cry to incels, and yeah.
Really?
Very strange stuff.
Incels and
You know.
I really haven't even done any research on the movie because I really could give two flying rats asses. Despite the fact that when I was a kid I was a huge Batman fan, but now I really don't
Honestly,
fucking-
I kind of want to see the movie mainly. Well, first of all, because of all the see what all the fuss is about. Number one, and number two, it's actually something different. I am very sick of the Disneyfication of movies. It's there's not a lot of. We were discussing character depth. There's not a lot of depth to characters. The characters' motivations are muddy. Villains aren't. The villains have no humanity to them.
Well, you see that in Marvel movies these days. It's just
yeah.
like, this is the bad guy. It's like, oh,
Right,
okay.
and that's the good thing. That's what makes good art, is that you should have a little bit of sympathy for the villain.
Yeah.
You should go, oh wow, he is a human being after all. And apparently that's what the Joker did. Is that it's told from the Joker's perspective, but I think it's because people have such a lack of moral clarity in today's world that they see this that just because it's told from his perspective, they think that it's trying to glorify him. And it's like, well, no, that's your lack of moral clarity. He's a murderer, and he's insane. It's just told from his point of view. And I think that's what the whole political hubbub is about, is a lot of the more liberal types see it as, when they're saying, they've been saying, oh, it's going to cause violence in theaters, and, dispossessed young white men are going to gravitate towards it. And none of this has happened. So it's just an interesting story that, all the high-end movie festivals have given it, great reviews and said the guy did a great job. And, but, a lot of people are saying this just glorifies violence and incels. I don't even know where they got that from. But, But yeah, I do want to see it because it's different and just to see what all the hubbub's about.
Okay.
But I thought that was funny, though, that it created this cultural flashpoint like that. It's very strange.
Yeah, actually, that's a great segue into the last bit of stuff to talk about today. Yay! So, yeah, we were talking about, also during show prep, and this kind of segues right into it, kind of the division in America with the idea of two Americas now. Mm-hmm. So you've got your conservative America, your liberal America, left-right paradigm, and how it's just really starting to split things. We recently saw in the news where Ellen DeGeneres was attending a Dallas Cowboys game. I think she was. It was kind of funny because she was written for the other team, but she was next to George W. Bush in the the press box seats.
Yeah, the luxury suites.
Yeah, the good seats.
Yeah,
the ones that neither one of us will ever see the inside of.
Yes.
And she was. There was apparently a picture where she was kind of laughing and Bush was laughing and they were kind of having a good time, because they're at a football game, they're chit chatting, having a good time. God forbid a couple people from different thoughts politically can get together, have a beer and some popcorn and get some nachos and have a good time. And apparently her Twitter blew up and everybody was like fucking butthurt about it. But then she actually did the very outstanding and I'm commending somebody on the left here. We would have thought. And she came out and said the right thing. She's like, yeah, I don't agree with this guy's politics, but we're friends and we get along. And, just because we have differing views on things doesn't mean we can't, be human and civil to one another. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of really starting to show the shift and divide within the United States currently, how divisive everything is. That two prominent figures, both one on the left, one on the right, can get together. You didn't see any hardcore Republicans saying, shame on Bush for talking to Ellen DeGeneres. No, that didn't happen. No, It was the left that fucking flipped their shit and like, oh my God, you're hanging out next to Bush. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and unfortunately the left often uses the fact that the right is more civil to support their own conclusion that it's because they're right. And I've even heard columnists and say things like that. Well, the Republicans don't attack us like that because they know we're right. And that's how demented some of these people are.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, they don't attack you because they're civil people. Mm-hmm. And essentially that's what's driving all this anger in the left about Trump is basically one of them. Mm-hmm. He punches back just as hard as they punch. Mm-hmm. And he uses the same tactics they've been using for years.
And it's kind of hilarious.
It is hilarious. And they're not used to it. They're used to Republicans just rolling over. Mm-hmm. And Republican voters got very sick of rolling over because they kept electing person after person that would just roll over when it came to the cultural battles and the media battles.
Oh, we saw this with the legislature, with Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House, who just rolled over. Same thing with, Boner.
Yeah. Crying Boehner. Yeah.
I said Boner because that's the way he spells it. Right?
Yeah.
So the same thing. He just rolled over. Mm-hmm. And before that, we had Nancy Pelosi, and now we got her back again for the 20 billionth time. And the woman's like 90 years old. I don't know who's going to go first, Ginsburg or Pelosi.
Yeah, really. But and that also goes to illustrate a problem with the left. There is like, how many Republican speakers of the House have we had in the last 10 years?
Mm-hmm. How many have they had?
We've had 3, right?
At least that I can think of in recent memory. We had Boner, we had Paul Ryan, and then before that we had Gingrich.
Yeah, so we've had at least 3 in the recent memory.
Yeah,
they've had one.
Nancy Pelosi,
the same person over and over again. They don't even switch it up.
No, nope.
It's just the same one over and over again.
Well, that's the way you do it in the Soviet Union.
Yeah,
same person until eventually get to top.
Yeah, exactly. So. And that illustrates a problem too, because you do want a little bit of turnover and infighting in the parties and
some fresh ideas.
Speaking of Pelosi, I don't think though, and once again, that's where the left does play politics better than the right, and which is why they're also they're bullies. Mm-hmm. They're just bullies, but Pelosi didn't want all this impeachment stuff to go down. You could tell.
Oh yeah,
she delayed it as long as she could. Mm-hmm. But the radical wing of the Democrat Party has taken over big time.
Yeah, it forced her hand,
and she eventually had to concede to that or lose her power. Mm-hmm. And that goes to show you that she was not going to lose her power. She eventually caved in to the radicals.
Actually, I got to call out somebody on the left that did something good. another. This is getting we're in fucking Twilight Zone here, you know. But actually, I got to commend AOC.
Oh wow.
Obviously, we know Ted Cruz is kind of doing his thing. Ted Cruz has kind of come out in support of the whole recognition of Taiwan issue, and AOC was on board with it.
Oh, good
so,
for her.
you know, kudos, good job.
Yeah.
Gotta call it the way I call it. So, yeah, good job, AOC, on that one. You actually pulled your head out of your ass for a moment.
Oh, and we'll commend another liberal. Well, this one's a little. I don't know if I even want to say liberal, but Tulsi Gabbard came out and basically said that the Democrats are rigging the primary again.
No, that's good. Wouldn't surprise me.
And like I've said, we've talked about privately before. Other than the Second Amendment stuff, I actually really like Tulsi Gabbard.
Oh, I do too. I think she's actually a cool person. You know,
Thinks with an independent mind, isn't just a blanket follower of the radical party politics.
exactly. There's the 2A issues got me. You know,
She's basically their Rand Paul.
yeah, and if she could get over the 2A thing, hey,
Yeah,
cool beans.
that, and she does go a little social justice-y sometimes.
A little bit, but you know, a
But
little
on
bit.
foreign policy and stuff, I do. Yeah,
Like I said, you know, if she would get over the whole no gun thing, I'd be cool with her.
yeah.
But she's got to work on that. Hear that, Tulsi Gabbard? If you're out there listening to our podcast, which I know you're not, but if you are, kind of accept the fact that we have the right, you know, to keep and bear arms, and you know, you'll get more support than you'd imagine.
Yeah, and you know, I got to say, I work with a lot of liberals and a lot of hardcore liberals, and most of them are not anti-gun.
Yeah.
It's very few who will say anti-gun things. Very few, and they're all very liberal. So I think the Democrat Party's kind of screwing up there because I think even their own base, once again, it's the radicals. They just seem to be completely driven by radicals in their own base. And
Well, it's the news media does, and man, really, if you think about it, you know, crazy bullshit sells. That's why the media is on board with the liberal, the extreme radical agenda, because
Yeah.
it sells. It's sensational.
Yeah.
It's in the news. That's why.
Well, and we have a big problem in America culturally, and this goes all the way from personal lives to business to politics, is the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah.
We've gotten way, you know, this whole notion of business, the customer is always right. Well, the customer has learned over the last 20 years that basically if you yell and scream, you're going to get what you want, even if it inconveniences the other customers, and even if the business loses money in the process, which to me is completely insane. Working in the restaurant business for so many years, I've seen it degenerate where, you know, the managers used to say, oh, well, you know, they complained, whatever, who cares? You know, and if it was bad enough, you might give them, you know, well, I'll comp your appetizer. And the managers really didn't give a crap. You know, they would do what they kind of had to do. Now it's everybody's terrified of a complaint. So the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah,
And we're seeing the same thing in politics, is the people who scream and yell the loudest, which are often the most irrational people. That's the people who get the most attention.
Yep.
And that's a very bad cultural thing that we're, you know, when I was younger, it was a little bit the opposite. Like once somebody started screaming so loudly, everybody ignored them because it's like, hey, buddy, you know, you're a little out of control here. You're a little irrational. We're not going to listen to you anymore.
Yeah.
But now we seem to kowtow to those people. And that goes, I mean, media, business, politics, everywhere in American life.
Pretty much. And with things continuing to get more and more divisive, and it seems like, you know, reconciliation, especially within the two Americas, is becoming less and less a thing, it might get to be boogaloo time. For those of you that don't know what that is, go Urban Dictionary it.
Civil War II, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So, not, again, disclaimer, not promoting or saying it's time for Electric Boogaloo, but I can smell it. I'm
Yes.
not, again, violence is bad. Don't say, I'm not telling you go do it, but I can smell it.
Yeah.
Get your Hawaiian shirts and your gear ready.
Well, it's like we were talking earlier. Revolutions are generally never a good thing.
No.
The American Revolution, that's why it was such a unique thing in the history of the world. French Revolution didn't work out so well. Obviously, communism, huge disaster. Generally, revolutions don't work out, even when they're against dictators. It ends up creating worse conditions than existed before, for the most part.
Yeah, sometimes.
So once again, no advocating for any of that. But that being said, you know, when you have a huge segment of the American population that the entire world is forgetting, the government and media, it's a big problem.
Yep.
Big problem.
So, Anything else we want to get to?
No, that's it.
Well, on that note, we're going to go ahead and conclude our today's episode. I'd like to thank you guys for hanging out with us. And go ahead and press that like and subscribe button. Share with a friend. Talk to us. A little more interaction would be nice. That'd be cool. Something you want to hear us talk about. Or if you're in the Nashville area, want to be on the show, shoot us a message. We'll probably make that happen for you.
And we're going to get back to our every other week schedule, bi-monthly. And,
Hopefully, barring anything goofy.
Yeah, it gives us a little more flexibility because obviously we're just working schmoes here. And it's tough to find the time sometimes, but we're going to try to get back to our schedule and get producing more episodes.
Yep. So, on that note, you guys have a good one, and we'll see you again next time.
A good one.